Okay, welcome back. This is part two to the this is the how to fix the Commodore 64 Mini Joystick, which I've got disassembled. I've got a part one of this that'll explain what I feel is wrong and kind of shows a little bit of the what this board is, how it's torn down, and how this works. So please go see that if you want to know how this works. In this one, I just want to talk about what the fix is. So what we showed in the first one was that if you grounded a connector, basically if you ran it to the ground, it would fire that button. And so what I've done here is gotten a DB9 with screw down terminals. Now there's a better way to do this that is smaller and cleaner, and you'll see that mine is not clean at all, using a serial port and actually soldering to the wires. I had tried to take an old serial port apart, use it as a DB9 connector, and solder onto it, and it ended up being a mess. The other thing is I don't have my proper Dremel, and I'm moving, so if those of you following the CNC know that I'm kind of still moving into this house, so I didn't have a proper Dremel. The hole's a mess. I ended up glue gunning the snot out of it to get it to hold, so mine's a very messy mod, but I think that those of you out there that are a bit more crafty are definitely going to have a better time here. The thing to know though is no matter what this looks like or how it works, you have a DB9 here on the bottom. You're going to either solder, or if you have screw terminals, it's really nice. You don't have to solder any of these, and the numbering of the pins matches what you would expect. Let me show that for a second and show you what's going on here. So this is a DB9 connector, and this is the pinout. And this pinout is as if you're looking at the back of the connector. And the 6 things we care about: up, down, left, right. Input trigger is the button, and then we care about ground. So 6 and 8 we care about. 1, 2, 3, 4 we care about. The other ones are not used by the by the C64 Mini, so they're not super useful. They're interesting to know about, but they're not super useful for us here. So what I did is I matched this pinout 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 for the button, and then 8 for the ground. And on this side you can see 4 wires. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I wonder if you can read that. Let's see here. I don't know if I can get this to focus. It might be infuriating. I guess it doesn't matter. On the other side you see red and black. That is the button and the ground. The red runs up here to the fire button. And so what I'm doing here is I'm taking these pads. This is what the other fire button one looks like. It doesn't really matter what you use. Oh, I see it's the lighting here. Let's see if that helps. There we go. It's much clearer. So what we're doing is we're soldering the wires to these pads and then just plugging or soldering them onto these pins. Very simple. The key one that you must get right and you must have before any of these work is the ground wire. Now some of these joysticks have pads behind the ground wire. Mine, you can see, is a version 3.0 and it does not have a pad back there. So I had to solder just basically on top of the black wire that was going to the USB connector. The USB connector, you can see this little gap here. This will go into this square like this when you're reassembling it. That gives you basically a nice, you can pull on the wire and it's not going to pull on the solder joints or any of the internal wires. It just kind of holds it in there. It's a good stress protection. The wires run off to the left hand side. If you have the cable running out the top, this cable is the USB cable, that's the top, so the wires can go off to the left or right. I didn't understand that at first from the initial photos, and I was trying to run them off the top or bottom. Run them off the side. The board is smaller than the case. When you're reassembling, place all the buttons into the top shell, and then basically what you're going to do is flip this on top, and then you'll flip the rest of the joystick over. Again, place this square in this hole here, like that. Oh, this is really hard to do, to look at the camera and make sure this all lines up. but it will line up. There we go. It'll eventually satisfyingly close. And if it doesn't, double check your cable, make sure your cable's not in the way. Just checking my USB cable there, there we go. All right. Oh, I got a wire pinched right there. It's not good. Let's get that pressed in and protected. Might be good to glue gun down these wires. Okay, there we go. And I'm just going to leave that like that for now. You take your joystick that you want to use, your DB9 connector, and then in the back here, just plug it in. This is the game UI, and this is the game select UI. Let's see if I can get that right side up for you. Oh, I guess it's upside down for me. There we go. And what you'll see is the old joystick still works. Mine only works one direction because I burned off the solder pad. But there it goes. But now my new joystick also works. Oh, and it feels so much better. So I'm going to launch Alley Cat here. And I can now use this joystick as if it was just set to go. It's mapped exactly the same as this joystick, so I don't have to worry about any button remappings. And it's just very, very satisfying to play with. I've got auto fire. And then when I want to exit the game, I can go back to these buttons and use either joystick. Put that button there was my game exit button. And now I'm back into the menu. And that's the whole beauty of this mod, and why I like this mod over just plugging in a Super NES controller or something like that. Don't get me wrong, they're amazing to have a Super NES controller, but what this does is I get the best of everything. I get the old school feel, I get the flexibility of plugging in a whole bunch of old joysticks if I want. I get all of the UI prompts that come up match this button layout. So the UI is very intuitive for me. Here, I'll put this down. And it's great. And if I wanted to, and I hadn't screwed this one up, I could have very easily unplugged this joystick and use this to control the C64 Mini without really losing any functionality. So it's assuming that your soldering is good, a non-destructive upgrade to the C64 Mini. Now there's, let's see, two other ways to get better control on the C64 Mini that I'm aware of. One is to use, again, something like a Super NES controller or an Xbox 360, basically any controller that has 8 or more buttons that is on the compatibility list. The compatibility list lives on Gers.net. So Gers.net C64 Mini, and if you go over to hardware compatibility lists, let's see, where is that? Right here. Then you'll get some really good info. This will show you joysticks at work. I'm going to skip down. This USB to DB9 converters. Remember, you cannot use a USB to serial adapter. You must use a USB to DB9. Those are a joystick adapter. The joystick does not speak serial, so if you get a USB to serial adapter, it won't work. It just won't. So here's a couple that have been tested. This is a wiki, so it gets updated as they find new ones. And it gets also updated to show things that don't work, which is good to know. You're going to want to look it up here, don't assume. And then this one here, this link here links to the Jonas's post on Facebook. Jonas Pettersson is a person who I first saw do this mod. And this is his here. You can see his C64 Mini Joystick. And then he's got his, I think it's a command and control plugged into it. I love this joystick because it's got one button on the joystick, one on the base, and you actually select which one you want to use. I thought that was kind of clever. This is what this mod looks like if you don't hack it to a indescribable mess. So he has a nice, very clean shell on his. You can see his pins are protruding very cleanly. This is the inside. It gives a little bit of a peek. He's got a nice clean cut on the inside here. And this is an example of soldering directly to the pins. Now, his support layout is different than mine. Let me show that real quick, because that's going to be something, if you do this, you're going to hit. Let's see if I can do this without breaking it again. Last time I did this, I lifted off the top, forgot. So there are a number of these vertical supports here that I had to break off to get that to fit the way I did. His layout is a bit different. I don't think he had the version 3. His pin layout and his board's a bit different. So it's something to be aware of. Okay, I'm not going to fiddle with that right now. I'll fix that in a second. And then I'm going to screw it down because I'll be done with this video, which is very exciting. Let me see if I can get... you'll see he glued the wires down and basically kept them flat on his joystick. This is very smart. I also applied some glue here when I originally soldered it. It's a trick a friend of mine taught me. The glue gun glue gets in between the solder joints, kind of keeps things from connecting. It's not necessary, but it held it a little bit better, especially because my solder joints were brittle because I was soldering on top of a mess. But yeah, Jonas Pettersson, and this is in the Facebook group for the C64 Mini. The other resource you're going to want to follow is Gurst.net. Hopefully that was useful for you, and hopefully you have some success with the mod. I have absolutely loved being able to use a quick shot joystick and micro switches on the C64 Mini. It's been just night and day. For a while there, I was playing the games and wondering, am I really that bad at them? And now that I have the C64 joystick, I can find out, yes, I am really that bad, but my control's a little bit better, so it's a good thing to know. As always, if you like the video, please give me a like. That gives me some great feedback. I love waking up in the morning and seeing some likes. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. If there's something I didn't cover, let me know. I tried to cover everything here. I wanted it to be a good solid tutorial. And the next video I'm going to do is going to change gears. I'm going to go into I think a Raspberry Pi mini magic mirror based on Node's design, or I'm going to go over the magic displays I have in the back of the room. So if you'd like to see projects like that, please subscribe. And if you have if you want to see more stuff on the C64 Mini, let me know what you'd like to see. I really am just enjoying the heck out of it. It's a nostalgic masterpiece. Thanks for watching, and this is Joe Farrow with Geek Toolkit. Have a great day, and until next time.